Hey there, and welcome to episode 253, Why Smart People Stay Stuck. And today, this episode is going to be recorded by yours truly. It'll just be you and me here in the room because Miss Tiff is not doing this one today. So let's really jump in and just talk about why smart people stay stuck. And when I say stuck, what do you think of? Do you think of why you keep putting that thing off when you know better? Or why you keep saying yes when you really mean no? Or maybe you just do everything everyone wants all the time because you think you have to. Those are the places that we could really feel stuck, right? Or maybe you feel like you're always over drinking when you're like, I really shouldn't be doing this. Or maybe you know you need to put out that YouTube video, but you just can't force yourself to do it. Or that you should post more, you're running a business, you just totally choke every time you have the opportunity to invite someone to work with you. Or maybe you find yourself needing tons of approval all the time in order to feel like you're good enough. These are just a few examples of the places that you could very well be feeling stuck. So today we're going to talk about why smart people feel stuck and why you are stuck. Because being stuck is a real deal. And this podcast today is for you specifically. If you think to yourself, I know better. I've done the work. I should not be doing this again. I've read the books. I've hired the coaches. I've been to the seminars. Why am I still doing this? If you're asking yourself, why am I still doing this? You are in the right place, right? And it just like you could like beat yourself up and just, God, if I could be more disciplined, if I could just set a goal, if I could just set my New Year's resolutions, but you're finding that it's not a lack of discipline. It is definitely not a lack of intelligence. And it's not a lack of awareness because you're aware of what you're doing. And so you arrive at a very, very painful conclusion that there must be something wrong with you, right? And that's why we need to have this conversation today, because smart people don't stay stuck because they're not smart enough. Smart people stay stuck because awareness cannot override a vow that is still organizing your behavior. Did you hear me? This is not an issue because you're not aware enough. It's because you made a decision as a kid with kid logic that is actually still organizing your behavior, aka running your life. And so let's do this. What I'd like to do is I'm going to go through a list of myths about you and why you shouldn't be stuck anymore, right? The first myth is that you believe that if you understand what you're doing and you're aware of what you're doing, you should be able to stop it. Have you been able to stop it? No. Maybe for a week. I mean, maybe 3 weeks top. It's kind of like at the beginning of the year, the gyms are so crazy packed for about 2 weeks, maybe 3 if you're lucky. But, that first week is packed. You cannot find a treadmill. You have to wait forever for the weight machines. Yeah, give it a month, right? And that's the first myth. We think that if we understand the problem, we should be able to stop it. No. Myth number 2. You think that more awareness, being even more aware of all the nuances of your pattern, that you should be able to change easier. Yes, awareness is necessary. I will say that. But awareness is not pattern breakthrough. Awareness will reveal to you all the nuances of the actions that you're taking or not taking. Maybe you'll be paying attention to the time of day, or maybe I need to do it, maybe I need to go to the gym at the beginning of the day instead of the ending of the day. And, I'm sure that as soon as this thing happened when I hurt my shoulder, that's for sure why I quit going to the gym, even if it was 6 months ago and your shoulder's been better for months. So more awareness does not create more change. The myth is that more awareness creates more change. Nope. The third myth, we believe that the pattern itself is the problem. And I'm here to tell you, your people pleasing isn't the actual problem. You putting shit off, procrastinating, isn't actually the problem. Overworking yourself to death is not the problem. The pattern is the symptom. The decision, the vow that you made is actually what's causing this whole pattern. The vow itself is the engine. It's what's running every pattern. And then myth number 4 is I just need more discipline. If I just had some accountability, then I'd finally be able to stick to it. If I just, if I can just be more disciplined, then I'll make it a habit. And then I'll be able to keep sticking to this change that I want to make. It doesn't work. And let me give you an example that I do use often. It's when my dad had died. I had just turned 11 years old. It's in between the funeral. It's in between him dying and the funeral. And any of you, probably most of you, have lost people and you understand the dynamic there. But my dad dies. I'm looking at my mom grieving. I'm sitting under the dining room table, looking into the family room. I'm sitting on the green shag carpet. This was in 1979. I'm looking at my mom sitting in her lazy boy recliner, and she was sobbing. And I remember looking at her and I felt so scared. I was so uncertain. I did not know what to do. I felt so out of control. I was so afraid now because I knew what it felt like to have one parent die. And I was so afraid that something would happen to my mom. And as I watched her cry, and it wasn't just crying, it was sobbing, right? Sobs racking her body. And I'm just sitting under the table. It was dark under the table, looking out between the chairs. And I remember this decision I made was crystal clear. I made the decision I would do whatever I had to make her happy so that I wouldn't be alone. It was legit. To me, it was life and death. I was so scared. I was scared to death that she could die too. Of course. Right? So this is the vow. That's the vow. And guess what that vow created? It created decades of people pleasing, because it wasn't just my mom. It was every person that I loved, because I didn't want to lose them. And I had made a vow that I have to make people happy so they don't leave, so they don't die. And for me, it was death. It was life and death. And that vow literally wedged into my nervous system as identity architecture, that I have to, at all costs, make people happy. And here's some examples of some other vows, right? Some people grow up feeling super unwanted. So they find themselves feeling like they have to hustle. They have to do everything so good, so perfect, so right in order to belong, to feel safe, to be loved. And another person makes a decision as a kid that I have to make people comfortable in order to be wanted. Or I have to show up less than who I really am in order to belong. Because if I'm the best, or I'm really good at this or that or the other, and then that kid has an experience that when they excel or they succeed, that they're shamed for thinking they're better than everyone else. So they make a vow. I have to play small. I have to be less than I am in order to belong and to be accepted. And another person makes a vow based on, I have to meet everyone's expectations in order to be loved. I have to perform goodness and be good and be the best and meet everyone's expectations in order to be loved. Yeah, that creates a real lifetime of feeling like you have to perform. You have to show up just the way they want it so they don't reject you. Right? Another person made the decision that I have to always be okay with everything. I can't have any of my own feelings. I have to just go along with it, whatever works in order to keep my parent happy with me. Because if I rock the boat, I'll be rejected. And then it shows up in your life in all the ways. And you wonder why you can't get ahead at work. And you wonder why you having your opinion never happens. Why you have a belief that you just kind of hang in the shadows because that's what you're here to do. Right? These are the vows. These are the decisions that we make. Another vow is I have to struggle. I have to have it hard to prove I'm worthy. And we just continue to attract struggles to us because that's what we believed we have to endure in order to be worthy of love. And some people feel like they have to be perfect at everything in order to belong, even in the smallest way. And we have to abandon ourselves in order to make the people around us comfortable, which all of these are rooted in that, right? Because as kids, we are kids. We are operating from child logic. And we learn how to emotionally abandon ourselves in order to feel safe, to feel loved, or to belong. That we have to emotionally abandon ourselves. And what that actually means is we can't feel our own feelings because we need to pay attention to the feelings of everyone in the room. That's why we become so hyper vigilant, right? That's why we lose ourselves. That's another reason why we try to numb out, because we are putting so much pressure on ourselves. Someone could come in for over drinking, and it's because it feels radically unsafe if they're out of control ever. And drinking is the safest way to let it all go for a few minutes. But the overdrinking is causing its own problems in our life. This is how every pattern goes. This is what happens because we learn to emotionally abandon ourselves. In order to please others, we become extremely hypervigilant. If you find yourself saying, I have to walk on eggshells, I have to always be careful, I have to make sure that everything that comes out of my mouth is the right thing, or I won't be safe, I won't be loved, or I won't feel like I belong. And this is what's running every pattern. And once you are able to identify, first you have to be aware of the pattern. You know what patterns are running in your life. And then you identify the cost and you pay attention. What is it actually costing me? What's the impact here? Real life impact on my relationships, my health, my emotional well-being, my relationship with other people, my career, my work, my money. And then once you identify the impact that it's having, you identify where it all started. And I have you close your eyes and you identify the origin, a story, an experience that you experienced somewhere in your life, probably in your early life, not always, but most of the time early in life. And you begin to see where that pattern took root. And it was all based on a decision you made when you were going through that very hard thing, like the decision I made about keeping my mom happy. And it bled into every relationship I was in. And then once you understand that vow that you made, only then can you break that vow through consciousness and awareness and compassion for that part of you that made that decision. And by making the unconscious conscious, you literally now have the ability and power to change your mind with full authority because you know where it came from and you feel deep compassion for that little you back there that has been feeling deeply alone for a very long time. And that little you, has been waiting for you to come back to get them. And this is where, when people say, I need to learn how to love myself before I can be in a relationship, the only love that lands the deepest is the love that we feel for all the parts of ourselves that have been wounded little kids out in the cold. And once we begin bringing those parts of ourselves back to ourselves, then you can really feel love. You can really, truly experience love, safety, peace, joy, because it's us that can give it to us because we know exactly how that part of us felt. There's not another living person on the planet that knows exactly like you do, exactly how you felt back then. And who knew that it would be a decision you made way back then that would be the thing that would be running the patterns that makes you crazy as an adult, sometimes feeling like smacking your head against the wall because you're so frustrated with yourself that you keep people pleasing or performing or putting on a fake face when you really just want to be authentic and you really want to show up and you want to go for the promotion, but you don't know why. You just keep feeling like you have to play small. It feels life or death. It's because of a decision you made when you were going through something really, really hard as a kid. And when you finally realize that, truly understand it within your own soul, somatically in your own body, because you can feel what it felt like to be that kid back then, and you go wrap that kid up, and that kid wraps himself around you or herself around you and cries and cries and cries because they're so tired. That's when the vow breaks. That's what does it. And then you can finally realize, oh my God, it was me that I was looking for. In fact, one of my favorite statements after they did a pattern breakthrough, he said, I feel like I found my best friend. And it was him. Brilliant. So there you have it. So maybe you're not stuck because you haven't done enough work. Maybe you're stuck because a decision made years ago is still making decisions for you. And until that decision is consciously witnessed and its authority ended, the pattern will continue to run no matter how much awareness you gain about the pattern itself. And if this is something that you would like to experience, click the link, book, jump in and do a pattern breakthrough intensive with me. And let's get to the bottom of this so you can throw your arms around every wonderful thing that's right there waiting for you. So there you have it. This is why smart people stay stuck, because it has nothing to do with your intelligence. And the new tag, let's see if I can remember. Tiff and I just decided our new tagline. Oh yeah, I remember. Eat dessert first. Because why the fuck not?